You've been lied to. Not by some rogue trainer, not by one bad article, by the entire system that taught you how to move a barbell. There are lifters out there, experienced, consistent, dedicated people who have been doing everything right for 2, 3, 5 years. Their technique looks clean, their numbers are climbing, they post their sets and the comments say perfect form, and they are getting weaker every single session. Not because they're lazy, not because they're unintelligent, but because the definition of correct they've been trained to chase is built on a foundation that has nothing to do with how a human body is actually designed to generate force. What I'm going to give you today isn't a form checklist. It's a complete framework for understanding why your body has been holding back its best output and exactly what to do to unlock it. Stay with me until the blueprint section. I made a promise at the start of this video that I'm going to keep, and when we get there, you'll understand why everything before it had to come first. My name is Dr. Aris Thorne, and if you found your way here, there's a reason for that. This is Primal Unleashed. And before we go a single step further, I want you to hear the standard we hold ourselves to on this channel, because it's not just a tagline, it is the operating system behind everything I'm going to teach you today. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weights, we reclaim our nature. That is the Silverback Standard. Not a fitness philosophy, not a content brand, a way of seeing your own body and every demand you place on it through the lens of what it was actually built to do. And the person I'm speaking to right now, I have a specific name for them: the sophisticated savage. Someone who refuses to choose between raw physical intensity and sharp-minded intelligence. Someone who knows that the gorilla and the scientist are not opposites. They are the same creature at different moments of the same day. If that resonates, you are exactly where you need to be. Now, let's begin. The cult of perfect form. Let me ask you a question that might be uncomfortable. Who taught the gorilla to squat? No one. And yet, the lowland gorilla, a 400-pound biomechanical masterpiece, can generate over 4,000 newtons of force through his posterior chain with zero coaching, zero textbook cues, and zero concern about what it looks like from the camera angle. It just moves, and it moves with catastrophic, beautiful efficiency. Now compare that animal to the average gym member today. We have built an entire culture, an entire billion-dollar industry around sanitizing human movement, around turning a squat into a geometry lesson, around rewarding the aesthetic of strength over the actual production of it. Knees here, spine there, chest up, breathe on the eccentric. No, wait, breathe on the concentric. Never break parallel, always break parallel. Never round your back unless you're a powerlifter, then round it a little, but not too much. It never ends. And here is the dark irony that nobody will say out loud. The lifters most obsessed with perfect form are often the most injured. Not because they're reckless, they're clearly the opposite, but because they've built their strength on a foundation that is brittle by design. They've optimized for looking right, for matching the diagram, and the first time real-world variation enters, an uneven surface, an off-center load, a day when the body doesn't cooperate with the checklist, they break. I want you to think about the last time you were inside a lift, rather than watching yourself do one. The last time you weren't running a mental form checklist mid-rep. The last time you just moved. For most people, and I mean the overwhelming majority, that experience either never happened or happened a very long time ago. That is what modern gym culture has stolen from you. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give it back. Now, before we go deeper into the why, I want to show you what the science actually says about how your body generates real force, because what's coming next is going to reframe everything you think you know about what correct actually means. The biomechanical truth of the gorilla. Here is where we get precise, because precision is exactly what separates the sophisticated savage from the reckless amateur. Your skeleton is not standard issue. Your femur length determines how your squat looks. Your hip socket depth determines your ideal stance. Your shoulder structure determines your ideal bar path on a press. No two humans are anatomically identical, and yet gym culture keeps forcing every unique frame into the same universal template. This is not biomechanics, this is aesthetic conformity dressed in scientific language. Now, here's what the science actually says. When you allow strategic movement, deliberate, controlled, intentional deviation from the rigid textbook, something remarkable happens at the muscular level. You begin recruiting what exercise physiologists call high-threshold motor units. These are the deep, powerful fibers your body reserves for genuine physical demands, the kind of demand that machine-guided, sanitized governor on full half movements can never touch. Research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research has confirmed that allowing a natural lower back rounding in the final range of a sumo deadlift, the exact position the gym police would immediately flag, actually distributes spinal load more effectively across the erectors and multifidus system in individuals with longer femur to torso ratios. What looks wrong for one body type is the safest, most powerful option for another. I want to draw a clear line between two things that can look similar from the outside, but are completely different in intent and outcome. Type 1, ego lifting, loading more weight than your nervous system can manage, abandoning all structural integrity and calling it primal. This is self-destruction with extra steps. This is not what we do here. Type 2, strategic rhythmic loading, what elite powerlifters do when they use the stretch-shortening cycle, what Olympic weightlifters do when they leverage bar oscillation, what your body does naturally when it's trusted to express real force. The difference between these two things is not the weight on the bar, it is the intention behind the movement, and your body knows the difference even when your checklist doesn't. Knowing the science is one thing. What I want to give you next is the psychological shift that makes the science usable. Because understanding why something works and actually being able to do it inside a heavy set, those are two completely different problems. Reclaiming your primal intensity. I'm going to tell you something that I don't often say on camera. The first time I genuinely understood what I'm about to teach you, I was not in a gym, I was not reading research, I was watching a wildlife documentary at 2 in the morning, completely unable to sleep, and there was a silverback on screen moving through dense forest terrain with a tree trunk twice his body weight across his shoulders. No setup, no cues, no deliberation. He just picked it up and walked. And something clicked in me that no textbook had ever touched. That animal's intelligence wasn't separate from its strength. It was its strength. The mind wasn't governing the body. The mind and body were operating as a single system. That's what I want for you. The psychological shift needed to train this way has a name. Ancient practitioners of martial arts called it mushin, the mind without obstruction. The state where technique has been so completely internalized that the conscious mind is freed from monitoring it and can direct pure force instead. Elite athletes across every strength sport describe reaching this state. Powerlifters call it dialing in. Olympic lifters call it feeling the bar. And once you understand that this is a learnable, trainable cognitive state, not a talent some people are born with, the whole game changes. The problem? Modern gym culture never lets you get there because it keeps the cognitive governor on at all times. It insists you monitor aesthetics even as you attempt to generate maximum output. And those two things, aesthetic monitoring and genuine force production, cannot coexist at full capacity. One will always suppress the other. The sophisticated savage understands this. That's why we train in two distinct modes, not as a gimmick, but as a recognition that the mind and body have two separate jobs, and both deserve their own space to operate fully. What I'm about to show you is exactly how that plays out across your training week. The blueprint I promised you at the start. We're almost there. Merging intelligence with raw power. Primal intensity without data is randomness. Data without primal intensity is a spreadsheet that makes you feel productive while you stay exactly the same.
The integration of both, that is where real, lasting, transferable results live. Modern wearable technology has reached the point where you can validate in real time whether your unconventional approach is working or failing. Heart rate variability, HRV, tells you whether your nervous system is genuinely recovering between high-demand sessions, or whether you're just pushing through accumulated fatigue and calling it discipline. Velocity-based training tools, accelerometer devices that measure mean concentric velocity give you a direct read on neural drive and power output. This is how the sophisticated savage knows with real numbers whether the primal training is producing more force or simply producing more effort. We use this data not to sanitize our training, we use it to validate our intensity. I want to challenge something you might be thinking right now. You might be thinking, this sounds great in theory, but I train in a commercial gym. I don't have guerrilla terrain, I don't have a private facility. My gym has a dress code and mirrors on every wall. I hear you, and my answer is the same one I give every athlete who makes that case. Your training environment does not determine your training outcome. Your training intention does. You can perform technical proficiency work in any squat rack in any gym in the world. You can perform primal output sessions on a standard barbell with standard plates on a standard platform. The sophisticated Savage framework does not require special equipment. It requires a decision. A decision to stop performing strength for an audience and to start building it for yourself. The sophisticated Savage blueprint. All right, I made you 3 promises at the start of this video. I said I'd give you a complete framework for unlocking your body's best output. I said I'd give you back the feeling of being truly inside a movement, not watching it from the outside. And I said this section would make everything that came before it make sense. Here it is. Monday, technical proficiency. Compound movements at 70 to 80% of your working max. Your singular focus is internalizing your individual mechanics, not demonstrating them, internalizing them. Record yourself, not to post it, to study where your pattern breaks under load, where power leaks, where the body compensates before the weight gets genuinely heavy. This day builds the neural highway. It's the scientist day. Wednesday, primal output. Same movement patterns, same exercises, different intention entirely. 85 to 95% of your working max. The cognitive governor comes off. You are not managing aesthetics. You are generating maximum force through the pattern you spent Monday internalizing. The mind stays sharp, monitoring velocity, ground force, tension distribution. The body operates at its real ceiling. This is where the high threshold motor units fire. This is where the gains the sanitized gym cannot touch begin to accumulate. This day produces the adaptation. It's the Silverback day. Friday, Gorilla Day, unconventional loading. This is where we depart from standard gym culture entirely. Carries, asymmetric pulls, uneven terrain if you have access to it, sandbag work, sled work, the kind of work that demands your athleticism actually grow in dimensions that a bilaterally loaded barbell can never reach. The gorilla doesn't just move forward and backward on a fixed axis. It moves in every direction, at every angle, against every kind of resistance the environment provides. You are an apex predator, not a machine operator. Train accordingly. Weekend, recovery with intention. Not passive rest, deliberate, purposeful recovery. Mobility that restores your natural range, not just static stretching, but loaded positions your body needs to recognize. Breath work that recalibrates your system after 2 days of near maximal output. Nature if you have access to it. Sun, ground, distance from the artificial. This is not wasted time. This is the part of the cycle that makes everything else sustainable. Here is the truth I want to leave with you. Modern life has spent decades making a very specific argument about your body. It has argued that your body is fragile, that it needs to be managed and protected and carefully monitored at all times, that the perfect form exists and deviation from it is danger. That argument is an argument for domestication. The Silverback Standard is the counter-argument. Your body is not fragile. It is adaptive. It is intelligent. It is designed, not metaphorically, but literally, at a structural and neurological level for challenges that the modern world has largely removed from the menu. When you reclaim those challenges, when you train in a way that respects both the science and the primal capacity that science is trying to describe, something changes. Not just physically, though the physical changes are real and they are dramatic. Something changes in the way you move through the world. A confidence that has nothing to do with your reflection and everything to do with your capability. That is the Silverback Standard in your body. And subscribe. That is what we build here. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weights.
We reclaim our nature. Before you leave, I want one thing from you. Not a like, not a subscribe. One thing. Go to the comments right now and answer this. What is the one form rule you've been following that your body has been fighting the entire time? One sentence. I will read every single one this week because this is a community conversation, not a comment section. And next week, I'm going to reveal the single most underrated movement in the sophisticated savage system. One that almost no commercial gym programs ever include. One that the research says may produce more posterior chain activation than the conventional deadlift in a fraction of the training volume. I'm not going to name it here, because if I name it, you'll search for it, watch someone else's version, and miss the specific context that makes it work inside this framework. You need to see it here first. I'm Dr. Aris Thorne. Stay primal, stay precise, and never stop reclaiming your nature.